Wait a minute, I want to see what this letter says before. I can't remember what it says.
We'll do it again.
Yeah. Oh, this was recognizing that I was going to start again for Hallmark after I had quit when I got married. And they told me to come back when we were settled. And this was welcome me back, and they were going to send me some work right away. They were so tickled that I was coming back. So I was
Okay.
going to be working at home. I couldn't remember what the letter was about till then.
Okay, well, nobody will be able to read it.
No.
I mean, look at,
No, but I can tell them what it
Okay.
says. You want me to do that at first too?
yeah.
Okay. This is a follow-up DV to the first one we did at First Baptist Church Lawrenceville when I gave a program for the senior citizens in their monthly meeting. And I had a chance to tell them a little bit about Hallmark and to tell them about some of the work that I did. And I collected my work in these albums, and so we're going to be showing these today to let you know a little bit about what Grandma Jackson did when she was growing up. So maybe some of my ancestors, descendants will want to look at them someday, I hope, and I hope they enjoy seeing them. First of all, this is a letter. I think I received it in August. Well, we were married on August 14, 1945, and I had to quit working at Hallmark because I wanted to go with my husband, who was still in the service. And so they told me that when we got settled, if I wanted to still come back to work, to come back and we'd talk it over. So after we got settled in Carlsbad, New Mexico, I couldn't wait to get back and visit Hallmark in Kansas City, Missouri, and tell them, yes, I'm ready to start again. So this letter was welcoming me back and telling me that they were going to send me some tickets to work on. And I was just thrilled to death to get the letter, knowing that they wanted me to come back.
Yes, okay.
This is the baby album, and it has some of the most important work in it that I did for Hallmark. This card that I'm showing you right now is a baby congratulation card, and the verse was written by Dora Dinsmore, who copyrighted the verse, so Hallmark had to pay for the copyright, of course, to do this card. But they sent me the verse about 6 weeks before my daughter Becky was due, and asked me if I thought I could have time to do this before the baby came. And after I read the verse, I knew I just had to do it. It was such a beautiful verse. So I'll try to read it a little bit along so that you'll know why I was so anxious to do it. So the title is God's Masterpiece. From graceful lilies pure and white, God fashioned lovely skin. Forget-me-nots became her eyes. Forget-me-nots for eyes, then formed your baby chin. And so I had to put forget-me-nots and lilies on the front page. The second page has a rose. He took it, oh, it's a tulip, excuse me, I know the difference. It's a tulip. He took a tulip bright and fair. 'Twas one that did not fade. A softer, sweeter little mouth before was never made. So I had to use the tulip on that page. And then this has a rose. Another flower next he made, a rosebud pink and fair, touched it to your dimpled cheeks and bade it blossom there. And then on the next page we have a daisy. For dainty little fingers dear and precious tiny toes, he used the slender daisy frills. A snowdrop made your nose. Here's a snowdrop and there's the daisies. And on the last page, this world and all within it he created here for man, but baby was God's masterpiece since time and life began. And so this is the first one I did with that verse, and fortunately I finished the layout and ideas and sent it into the company I guess about 2 weeks after I received the assignment. They had to approve the whole idea that I had had, and then they sent it back to me and told me to go ahead and do the finished artwork on it. So I worked like fury to get it finished before I went to the hospital to have Becky. I finished it, mailed it in on Friday, and Becky was born on Monday. So that was pretty close. But anyway, I made it. And also, this card has a history. It was sent to Queen Elizabeth when Prince Andrew was born. And she liked the card so much that she wrote back to the company congratulating them on producing such a beautiful card. Of course, it never wrote to me, so, you know. But anyway, she liked it. Now, after this one was in the line for, oh goodness, I don't know how many years. I think about 15 years before they replaced it, and they let me design the second one, which was a parchment card. Incidentally, that first card sold for 50 cents. Can you compare that now with what you pay for a card that size? It wouldn't be 50 cents. The same verse, so I'm just going to thumb through it to show you each page. I had to use the same flowers on each page, but you notice it's a much bigger card. It's on parchment, and the colors, everything is much better than the first one, because by that time the paper stock was better, more available. The inks were better for printing, and the whole thing is just better than it was years before that. So here's the second one I did. And this sold for $1. Can you believe that? And this one was also in the line for many, many years. I say that because ordinarily a Hallmark card stays on the counter 1 year and it's replaced. So when a card stays in longer than that, that means it's really a special card, and that's why they keep it in the line longer. The third one is this one. The same verse, but now it's reduced down to this many pages. And I had to squeeze all the same thing in just 3 pages, so that was a little difficult to do. And now is the fourth one. I did 4 versions of that same verse, and I won't take it out. The pages are similar to the others, but a little bit different. Now I'll show you, I won't open all the books, but I'll just show you the little gift books that were made. This one took a lot of the pages out of the God's Masterpiece cards and put them inside with a different verse. Now I'll go through these pages pretty fast because most of them are, I'll have to turn this around. Tell me you're ready. Okay, these are some of the baby announcement cards I did. Excuse me. I'll show it to you in just a minute. I need a drink of water. These are some baby announcement cards which I did, kind of assortment of them. Some of them were some of the early days when I designed in 1939 and 40, and you can see the difference in the color of the paper. The inks and everything are grayer, and as they got newer, you can see they got brighter. This is the one we actually sent when our baby was born, Becky. I happened to have that in the line, so I sent that. Come in, Tim.
Get the production studio going here.
This is another page of announcements for babies, this definite boy and a girl. And these are more announcements. I did a lot of them. There's some more. I believe you tell this one, this says girl. Does that show up? Maybe it does. You can tell I like to use little cherubs and angels. You notice they're always specifically for a boy or a girl most of the time. Most of them are not general, they're either one. You can tell because the girl announcements are usually in pink and the boy announcements have predominantly blue in them. Some of these are congratulation cards rather than, but these are still announcements on this page. Now these are back to the cards, not the announcements. Congratulations for the baby and so forth. And you can see the cards. These were 15-cent cards. They don't even have such cards now. So for 15 cents. And this card was actually our baby girl's footprint. I put it on an announcement card. Or I'm here. I'm going to go through these pretty fast, but maybe you can see. Do they show up okay? And this was a little several-page book, a record of baby's Christmas, or christening, not christening. And this caption says, "Aren't babies wonderful?" So I had a lot of little baby heads. Some more babies. I guess you can tell I like to do babies. In fact, I did so many babies while I worked there. These were all done while I worked in the plant before 1945. And I did so many babies that finally my supervisor said, "You know, Lois, I think maybe we ought to let somebody else do babies. You've got everything in the line." I understood that, but I still like to do them. All these blue ones, of course, are baby boy cards. And they have to be something to look like a boy in most cases, except when they're tiny babies, and then you put them in a cradle or lying down. More baby heads. That's a good boy card. He's kind of roughing things up like a boy would. And they like caption cards like this. The girl has pink gingham, and I did one for a boy that had blue gingham, saying boy. And this was the same idea with one for a girl and one for a boy. This card is called "Aren't Babies Grand?" It was a real cute verse inside. I'll read just this verse real quickly. They don't have any teeth, and they don't have much hair. They can't talk at all, and they can't walk anywhere. They sleep all day long. They stay up the whole night. They yell. They yell every time that things aren't going right. But with all of the worry that they cause you, by heck, they do make a home. Yeah, they make it a wreck. They don't make you, and they make you so happy and proud and glad. Isn't it wonderful being mother and dad? I thought that was a cute verse. I love to do that one. And this is, what's his name's verse, a little boy and a little girl. This is Gingham Boy and little Bib. And this is Welcome Little Girl and Welcome Little Boy, the same verse, but, same verse, but adapted for boy or girl. And these are what we call cutouts. The whole card is a cutout, it's not just an image on the card. This card, I actually used real fabric. I used real satin and real lace and real fabric and made the little dress out of the fabric. Then they photographed it like that. That was fun too. More cutouts and more cutouts. A Valentine cutout for baby. And then these are some of the tracings I work out on tracing paper first, and then I transfer it to watercolor paper so I don't mess up the watercolor paper while I'm working out the detail on the design. So I've saved a lot of my, I put these in because I don't have the card, the sample card for these that I have tracings of. I missed a lot of the finished cards that came through and failed to get samples of them, so that's why I have some of these tracings in here. Okay, that's all of the baby.
Okay.
This is my Christmas album, and I wanted to point out that the first part of every album here is my early work, and then it progresses, you know, through the album to the back where some of my later work is, the very latest work is in the back. But you can see a difference in the production of the colors and the paper it's printed on. These were the very early ones. And there won't be much explanation about these because they're just, you know, general Christmas cards.
Count to 5 before you turn,
Okay. Why?
so we can see it.
You-
Let me start.
There isn't anything special on these two pages except this blue card, and it was such a top seller they kept it in the line for several years. So the others are, you know, kind of routine cards. I mentioned some of those that were bestsellers because when you work there, that's very important if they come out to be bestsellers, because every day we have meetings showing us which cards sold, which ones didn't, which ones were clunkers. And so you didn't want to see your cards in the clunker line. We use candles a lot. I think you'll see all through the Christmas line. This is where we have to go vertical, so it takes a while to change. There was a time when we could put attachments on cards, like feathers on this one, and attachments like ribbons, but as expenses increased, you see fewer and fewer attachments on the cards. More candles and angels. I don't know whether you can tell this or not, but this has a lot of sparkle in the bells and on the card. We call that diamond dust at Hallmark. This shows my idea. Worked up a little small idea to show to the supervisor because they all had to be okay before I did a finish. And this is a finished card from this idea. Maybe you can see these without turning the page because I think most of them are going to be upright from here on. This card's over $1 back then. This was a 25-cent card, and what you know what you pay for them now? A whole lot more than that. This was a box assortment of cards, you know, you buy them in a box, usually 25 cards in a box. This was the box assortment, these 4 in one box. They all had to have the same color feeling when it was in a box assortment. More candles. This was a card that I was working at home at the time under contract when I did, well, most of these were done at home. But this was my idea, which I worked up and sent in a finished card. And then when they printed it, they changed the color to this light blue and just ruined the whole idea. Just ruined it. I was so upset with them, I didn't know what to do. Now this one they kept pretty much like I did it. And here's another one. This was my first idea. They changed it to this light blue and just ruined the whole thing. Took the rich red and the rich blue out of it. I was very unhappy. Not much I could do about it. They're the bosses there. And this is another one. All these I did in the same color scheme and they changed every one of them. Which one would you like better, Harry? Don't you agree with me? They ruined it. Now this one they kept the same, so you can't tell the difference hardly on those. My original and the reproduction. This one turned out just like I did it. I liked the way that turned out. And this one too. I love doing Christmas too. That's I guess next to babies, Christmas was my favorite line. Some of these I'll point out, starting about here, were cards in the personal line. Those are cards which are in albums and stores. They're never on the counter. They're personal because you have your personal signature written into them. And so most of these are personal cards. They're more expensive and they have more attachments to them. This has a great big ribbon on it, a real ribbon. And a lot of embossing, a lot of gold, like this, gold and diamond dust. And poinsettias in gold. And this was a very special card. This is the front of it, and it opens up like this with a Madonna inside. And this turned out to be the overall best-selling in the Christmas album line. Every year I did a Madonna, and usually it was in the top selling. And these also were in the personal line, all of these. More Madonnas. This was a card that folded so that the front, this was the front and this was the inside. It folded up different than most of them. I'm not going to turn this around again. I think you can see it well enough like this. These are samples of how I worked up the idea small, and then this is the finished card. And once in a while I was inspired to write a verse and make the card to fit it. So this is one of the verses I wrote with the little angels, and they used it on the card. So I was surprised. They don't encourage the designers to write the verses because they have a whole department of people who do that. But I was so glad they used my verse that time. Now we're going to get into my Santas. One of my favorite things to do was a Santa. These were for children. Santa with the child. This Santa is one of my favorites, and I have to tell you briefly. I came to visit Becky here in Atlanta one Christmas, and after Christmas we went to Kroger to do some grocery shopping. And I picked up in a box, a basket they had in front of the store with Christmas stuff they were, selling. And there was a box of Milky Ways, a tin box with this Santa Claus on the front of it. Identical. They took my card and put it on the front of that box. And Becky walked up about that time. She said, "Mother, that's your Santa Claus. I saw you do it." That was for a boy, this was for a girl. This was the rough idea, and I never did get the real sample, the real reproduced one for that one. This is my pencil sketch for this card. And these are pencil sketches of cards that I never received, could not get the sample from, because I was working at home at the time, and sometimes I missed the samples going through at the factory, so I just didn't get samples for everything. But at least I have the tracings of what I did. This was a big cutout card that showed Santa Claus sitting in this rocking chair. And it was a cutout card all over, big dollar card. And all I have of this one, this was an Advent card, and it showed the angels in a manger, so forth. And on the Advent card, there were little things that opened up all over the card that showed the different dates before of the Advent season. And that's all of the Christmas album.